Hey guys, welcome back to another book haul. I once again have had a nice pile of books accumulating on my desk in my office, and I've also recently bought a few ebooks on my Kobo. One of my book goals for 2024 was to try to use my library a little bit more and not buy as many books, especially physically, because I don't have unlimited space in my house. But I definitely still have accumulated some recently. I'm not completely banning myself from buying books. I find that never works for me, but I do try to limit myself. I feel like I have a nice stack to share with you guys right now. I thought it was about time for another book haul. So I'll start with a few pre-orders that I've received recently. I kind of forgot that I actually pre-ordered a couple of these, so when they arrived in the mail, it was kind of like a surprise to myself, honestly. But I'm still happy that I bought them regardless, because I would have bought them anyways, and I'm glad I didn't accidentally buy them a second time forgetting that I actually pre-ordered them. To start with is How to Sell a Haunted House by Grady Hendrix. So if you've never heard of Grady Hendrix before, he is a horror author. He wrote A Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires and My Best Friend's Exorcism and Final Girl Support Group. I've only read Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires, but I personally really liked it. I know it's not everybody's cup of tea. Grady Hendrix tends to write on the gorier side of horror and has some body horror and stuff, and that's definitely not for everybody. So if that's not something you're into, I probably would not recommend Grady Hendrix as an author for you. But if you enjoy horror and you don't mind gorier, more gruesome horror, I find his writing is very intriguing and kept me very interested throughout that entire book, at least. This one is apparently about a woman whose parents passed away and she has to go back to her hometown and their home and sell it, and I'm assuming the house is haunted. I don't really know much more about this one, but that to me is very intriguing. I'm definitely looking forward to reading this one hopefully soon, but I think I want to read Grady Hendrix's other two books that I haven't read before I read this one. Then I got volume 7 of The Mortal Instruments graphic novel by Cassandra Clare, illustrated by Cassandra Jean. I already had the first 6 of this. I haven't read any of them yet, but it's The Mortal Instruments, so to me it was a no-brainer to pre-order this one, and I'm really looking forward to finally reading these, but I'm kind of thinking about waiting until they're all finally released so then I can just read them all together and not have to wait for the sequels to come out. But these are very interesting, the way that they did them, in that one graphic novel is half of one of the Mortal Instruments novels. So graphic novel 1 and 2 is for City of Bones, 3 and 4 is for City of Ashes, 5 and 6 is for City of Glass, now 7 and I'm assuming 8 is going to be a City of Fallen Angels, and then so on and so forth. It's definitely interesting that they split up the novels into 2 parts to make the graphic novels, but the art style looks very interesting and I cannot wait to eventually read these. The third book that I pre-ordered that I just received recently is The Atlas Paradox by Olivia Blake. I have never read The Atlas 6 before, and here I am pre-ordering sequels to books I've never read. I am aware that that is a problem because it has happened to me before where I have pre-ordered sequels to a book or bought the sequels to a book before I even read the first one and I ended up actually hating it, but I'm still not going to stop doing it, to be completely honest with you. But this one always has such good reviews. The Atlas 6 is very well loved. Olivia Blake is very well loved. I have quite a few of her novels and I've yet to read any of them. I definitely feel like I'm missing out, so I need to get to that sooner rather than later. I'm going to be completely honest, I don't know much about this series. I think it's a trilogy now. It's a trilogy now, apparently. I feel like I heard it was about magic or something like that. I can't remember, and I honestly don't mind that I don't know much about it because I really do enjoy going into books blind. But this one definitely gives me a good feeling, and the ratings around it give me a good feeling, so I definitely need to get to these ones ASAP. And then the last book that I pre-ordered recently that I just received in the mail, I think last week, is The Prisoner's Throne by Holly Black. This one was much anticipated, but to be honest, not by me. I completely forgot that I ordered this one because I have not read the Cruel Prince trilogy, so it's going to be a little while before I actually read this one. I have read The Darkest Part of the Forest by Holly Black, and I've also read The Coldest Girl in Cold Town by Holly Black, but other than that, I have not touched any of her other works, so definitely something I'm looking forward to doing in the future. I'm just a little scared to get into the Cruel Prince trilogy just because it has such good ratings and people love it so much. It's a little intimidating because I'm afraid I'm not going to love it as much as other people do. And I'm pretty sure that these are like set in the same world, just following different characters who are also in the Cruel Prince trilogy, but correct me if I'm wrong on that because I'm not entirely sure. So next I bought Too Hot to Handle by Tessa Bailey on my Kobo. I have never read a Tessa Bailey. I've also never heard of this one, but I love to have a nice pile of romance books as options to read randomly. This one definitely looks interesting. I have no idea what it's about. The cover definitely caught my eye and people swear by Tessa Bailey, so I thought I would buy it and eventually give it a go. Then I bought The Woman in the Window by AJ Finn. I do not think that I own enough thrillers and mysteries and such, and this is one I've kind of had my eye on for a long time. A lot of people love it, so I thought it was high time that I finally bought it and hopefully read it very soon whenever I'm in the mood for a good suspense or thriller. And then for another romance, I bought The True Love Experiment by Christina Lauren. In, I think, December, I read Holidays by Christina Lauren, and I absolutely loved it, and I definitely want to read more Christina Lauren. Loved their writing style, and I also loved the plot and the characters, so I cannot wait to read this one. I don't know much about it, but it's kind of giving me like the Love Hypothesis vibes, and I did really like that one. Hopefully it's kind of similar to that. And then I also bought a trilogy of romance books, Unravel Me, Consider Me, and Play With Me by Becca Mack. I'm not sure what order they come in. Maybe I'll put numbers 1, 2, and 3, the covers of these books when I edit this video, but these ones are, I think, sports romance. I have never heard of these ones either. Honestly, the covers kind of sold me on this one. I'm really bad for judging books by their cover. These covers just look like a calm romantic vibe. I could be completely wrong. I have no idea, but they look intriguing, and so I bought them. Then recently I read the Heartstopper series and I really loved them and said that I wanted to look more into Alice Osman's other works because of how much I loved Heartstopper so much. So I recently bought Loveless by Alice Osman and Solitaire by Alice Osman, and these both have characters in them that were in Heartstopper. What's kind of funny about this, I am not disappointed that they aren't graphic novels, but when I purchased them, I thought that they were graphic novels. So when I received them in the mail and I opened it, I didn't actually open the book, I just saw it from the side and I thought, that is a very chunky graphic novel. Like, I'm actually shocked, and then I realized they're not graphic novels, they are novels. I did not know that, but I am not disappointed about that because I feel like they will be just as good. I loved Alice Osman's writing in Heartstopper, so I feel like her ability to write a novel is probably just as good as her ability to write a graphic novel series. I was more shocked, but not in a bad way. I also kind of had to laugh at myself too, because you'd think when you are ordering books or buying books, you'd kind of pay attention to that sort of thing, but me being me, I did not, and I just hit complete purchase before reading or learning anything else about them other than they were by the author who also wrote one of my all-time favorite graphic novel series. That is all I cared about at the time. Then I bought Stoneblind by Natalie Haynes on my Kobo. This one I'm guessing is a Medusa retelling. The cover's definitely giving Greek mythology retelling vibes, and that definitely sold me because I love a good Greek mythology retelling and I'm always looking for new ones. So if you have any recommendations, please let me know. Definitely one of my all-time favorite genres, and because of that I also bought, please forgive me if I'm saying this wrong, Clytemnestra, I think, by Costanza Kazadi. Also forgive me if I'm saying that wrong as well, but this one is also another Greek mythology retelling. The cover is absolutely beautiful, and she is a character in Greek mythology that I personally have never heard of. Obviously, that is why I do not know how to pronounce her name, but when I go to read this, I will definitely be looking up how to properly pronounce her name, and hopefully I get to learn something about Greek mythology that I haven't actually discovered before, because I always find that's really fun. And then I also bought Ithaca by Claire North, another Greek mythology retelling, another gorgeous cover. That is something I also find with that kind of genre, is that they have the most beautiful book covers you will ever see. A lot of them have gold foil or just beautiful illustrations on them, and they're just gorgeous book covers for gorgeous stories. Totally looking forward to those. Ithaca is one of the myths that I've kind of heard a little bit about, but I don't know too much detail on. It's definitely one that I also think I'm going to learn new things about while reading it. Then I actually went to an Indigo and bought 2 books physically in person. These sold me kind of by the story, but also just by the cover cover. They look absolutely adorable and also probably ones that will be tearjerkers. So the first one is The Traveling Cat Chronicles by Hiro Arakawa. One of the blurbs on the back actually kind of sold it for me. It was blurbed by Lynn Truss from The Guardian. Anyone who has ever unashamedly loved an animal will read this book with gratitude for its understanding of an emotion that ennobles us as human beings, whether we value it or not. This book is told in the perspective of a cat, and I myself have 4 cats and have had cats almost my entire life, so I definitely love them very much. They have a special place in my heart. This book just seems absolutely precious, so I think it is kind of a cat's life perspective and different journeys that it goes on, probably different people that it meets and different experiences it has, and the illustration in it looks absolutely adorable as well. I also really love this blurb as well. It's by the Financial Times, and it continues the Japanese tradition of folkloric tales that celebrate simple values such as self-sacrifice and friendship. It has the warmth, painterly touch, and tenderness of a Studio Ghibli film, and is a delight to read. Obviously, I had to buy not so much a sequel, but kind of a companion novel or just another novel that is narrated by a cat, and that is called The Goodbye Cat, also by Hiro Arakawa. And I think this one follows different cats, not just the same cat. I think it kind of touches on pet loss and pet grief, which can definitely be a very hard subject to read about, so I'm definitely going to wait until I'm in a very good headspace before starting this book, because I have a feeling it is going to bring up a lot of emotions that are very hard to deal with. For me personally, I hate the thought of any of my cats dying, and thinking of cats that I had as a child that have passed, it definitely makes me sad, and I have a feeling this book is going to bring up a lot of those emotions, but I definitely think it will be a very heart-wrenching read and very meaningful, honestly. For that, I am very looking forward to reading both of these books. So I also bought 2 more romance books on my Kobo. The first one was Finding 13 by Chloe Walsh. I have heard so many people talk about this one. Some people love it, some people hate it. I'm pretty sure it's a sports romance, but surprisingly for how much I've heard people talk about it, I actually haven't really been spoiled plot-wise at all. I think it was first indie published and then it got really popular, so now it's being traditionally published. This is one I think I'm going to actually read the first one before I purchase any of the sequels, just in case it doesn't, for me personally, live up to the hype. And then I also finally got The Wall of Winnipeg and Me by Mariana Zapata. This one, I believe, is a football romance, and I know that it is a very chunky book and it's slow burn, but people always say that the slow burn in this one is definitely worth it, so I'm definitely willing to give it a try. I don't shy away from the chunky books. I normally find them actually to be quite rewarding, so hopefully this one does not prove me wrong. And then the last ebook that I bought was None Shall Sleep by Ellie Marney. I'm pretty sure this one is a YA thriller slash mystery, and I think it's about like 2 teenagers who team up with the FBI to try to solve a murder, which that kind of thing is not normally my vibe personally. Don't hate me for this, but I personally did not enjoy A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. Teenagers investigating murder in an unrealistic way kind of grinds my gears. When it's set in a fantasy world, I can kind of get behind it because it's fantasy, but when it's set in real life and it's a teenager solving crimes and stuff, I'm sorry, I just normally can't get behind it. There's normally a lot of things that are very unbelievable, or I kind of just have to shake my head and go like, just tell an adult or tell the police or something. I don't know. It's personally not a genre that I tend to enjoy, so this one is a bit of a risk for me. The cover looks really cool, and it also says that it has kind of Silence of the Lambs vibes, and I love Silence of the Lambs, so hopefully, fingers crossed, this one won't feel cringe to me, and this will be one of the teen detective kind of tropes that I don't mind. Now we are on to the last little bit, and it is going to get a little bit repetitive because I bought 5 more copies of my all-time favorite book, and that is Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. I currently, before buying these, had 23 editions of Pride and Prejudice, and now I'm up to 28. I know that is insane. I know I have a problem, but I cannot help myself. I collect Pride and Prejudice editions. I love it. I reread it every single year, and there are worse things I could be spending my money on. At least that's what I tell myself. But first, I got this gorgeous, gorgeous little Macmillan's Collector's Library edition. It's just kind of like pocketbook sized. It's got gold sprayed edges, and the back is Mr. Darcy with a quote, "You must allow me to tell you how ardently I admire and love you." But this is just a gorgeous, gorgeous little edition, and it is illustrated throughout. And then I also got this little flame tree edition of Pride and Prejudice. It is also gold spray edges, and it is a beautiful little cover of it. And the back only says, "Jane Austen's tale of Elizabeth Bennet and Mr. Darcy is the pinnacle of romantic storytelling." Isn't that the truth? But my goodness, is it beautiful. Just look at the end pages. Absolutely gorgeous. Then I got another Macmillan Collector's Library edition. The cover is actually a print of wallpaper that was in Jane Austen's house, so I thought that was a very nice touch. And again, this one is also illustrated, and it's got kind of like a matte feeling to it. I don't know, it's very interesting. I definitely like the binding and the cover of it. It's very unique. And I also got this Vintage Classics Random House edition of Pride and Prejudice, and I love the cover of this one. It's definitely giving Victorian age. It's definitely a unique cover as well. I had never seen this one, so when I saw it I knew I had to get it because I'll probably never see it again. And then last but definitely not least for the editions of Pride and Prejudice that I bought is this new beautiful one that was just released in February by Puffin Books, and is this gorgeous, gorgeous hardcover of Pride and Prejudice. It's got beautiful gold lettering, and once again, the quote on the back is, "You must allow me to tell you how ardently I admire and love you." And that's just kind of the only thing it says on the back other than the barcode. But once again, it has just beautiful, beautiful end pages, and is very lightweight for a hardcover. Definitely one that I was really excited to find and add to my collection. And then the last book in this book haul also has to do with Pride and Prejudice, but it is not another copy of the novel, but rather a making of Pride and Prejudice, the BBC miniseries adaptation. So it's just kind of like a non-fiction book, kind of in the layout of a magazine, I guess. You got a bunch of pictures from them making the miniseries, and the Pride and Prejudice BBC miniseries adaptation is my favorite personally. I am going to be completely honest with you, I have not seen any other adaptations just because I love this one so much. I feel no desire to watch any other adaptations. This one I found randomly on Indigo, and I could not pass up the opportunity to buy it because I obviously am a big Pride and Prejudice fan, and this seems very interesting to me, so I am definitely going to be reading this one very, very soon. But anyways, that is going to do it for this book haul. Let me know if you have read any of these books and what your thoughts are on them, if you loved them, if you hated them, if they were meh, and let me know also if you have any recommendations of what I should get my little hands on next. I hope you have a great rest of your week and happy reading!